I can remember, I mean, some of you won't believe this, but back in like 2009, like somebody would call and be like, hey, I need to sell my $1 million house. I was like, great, fine. I'll come, you know. But if somebody's like, I need to buy $1 million house back then, you were like, yes. Like, and now it's the opposite, right? So, all right, tell me, what are we doing? Tell me something good. Oh, turn off our cell phones. So we need to probably get back to that. Now that we're coming back in the office, Wendy's been here long enough. Art's been here long enough. Art, do you want to tell everybody what the old school cell phone policy was?
Well, if your cell phone went off in a team meeting or any other meeting, you would pay $10 to the KW Care Fund.
Yep. And then what?
If you answered it, it was
I think 100.
Like $100.
Yeah.
If you answered it in the meeting, yeah.
And that was the first offense.
That was the first offense. I'm going to make sure silent mode on there. So we probably need to get back to that now that we're having in-person meetings again. So, all right, tell me something good. Who's got something good to share? Could be somebody's bucket you want to fill.
No.
What's next? Oh, Jeremy's success quote. Read it.
Not today. I'll let you do it.
Success isn't always about greatness. It's about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success. Greatness will come. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, somebody we can all learn from, the philosopher of our time.
Well,
So, all right, what's next? Now tell us something good. Who's got something good to share?
Hi,
Wendy.
Scott.
so
Knew you
I
did.
would just like to raise my hand and give a big atta-girl, atta-boy to Art and to Sharon for one, having all of the new documents up on, I think this is the first time in history that that's been done. But the second thing is having someone this past weekend, Leopold, come in and share the changes with us. And I think Art's going to be doing that as well, and Sharon. So I just want to thank that whole compliance team for just being on it.
Sometimes a thankless job, and Art keeps us out of trouble. We thank you for that.
Sharon helps us once we get in trouble.
Sharon, yeah, Art keeps us out of trouble, and if something gets by the goalie, then we got Sharon. So Sharon's the net. Hopefully, we don't need that. Anyway, who else has something good to share? Something positive. It could be a gratitude. It could be. It doesn't have to be real estate related. It can be anything you want. Chris Mann.
I'm Chris Mann, closing attorney. I have an 11-month-old, and no offense to all of you folks with babies, she's the most beautiful child in the entire world. She is literally within a week of taking her first steps.
Oh wow.
Like she's like balancing, standing
Yep.
up, and kind of doing this little number. Within a week, she'll be waddling around.
She's like surfing the earth right now.
She is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. You catch a wave any day.
Yeah.
That's exciting. You look well rested. You look good.
I have a very, very, very amazing spouse.
Okay. You look good. Congratulations. That's a good gratitude. Who else has something good to share?
I'm grateful that I got to take a little time away and go to New York. So
Jeremy got to eat buffalo wings at the original buffalo wing place where they invented buffalo wings. Are they pretty amazing? Are they just mind blowing, or are they pretty much like buffalo wings?
I mean, they're good.
Like everybody else can
It's the
copy them now.
experience.
Yeah, okay. Like basically they're the same as everywhere now. Okay, that's cool. Who else has something? It will change the course of your day if you share gratitude right now. I guarantee it. Chris, do you feel better right now?
I feel good.
Did your see
Yeah.
I can see your
Like, I get
aura.
to like brag about my child. I'm like,
It gets your chi centered. It's like, all right, go for
I'll
it.
brag about my grandchildren then, because I had one of the best family days ever last Saturday. It
Awesome.
wasn't anything unusual or outrageous. It was
That's
just,
cool.
I got to take them to the pool, then they came to my house, and then we had a big family dinner, and I looked down the table and I said, this is what it's all about.
Yeah,
And it is.
that's great.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good big why, as we say. Hector, did I see your hand go?
I had a really restful weekend with no guilt.
Oh, that's a key component, right?
Awesome.
That's a key component. Share with us how you accomplished that as a busy, successful realtor.
I just relaxed and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take it out.
Did you tell people ahead of time, I won't be reachable, or you just said,
Well, basically, if I receive phone calls, I was gonna answer, but I didn't schedule any
Okay.
drawings or any appointments or anything like that.
and
And
you,
I didn't return urgent phone calls.
and you did guilt-free?
Yeah.
That's an important part.
And I said I have to do it more often.
You do have like a special, doesn't he have a glow today? Look at him. The guilt-free
It
glow.
may be because of the hairs around here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who else has something to share?
Once.
I did something cool. So I got invited by Keller Williams Worldwide to do training with the team leaders from around the world.
Wow.
So every Tuesday morning for an hour, I've been on a Zoom with team leaders from Vietnam, South Africa, Aruba, Romania, Albania, where else? Mexico, Belize, like all over the place, teaching them team leader stuff. So, and they're the coolest people. It's like, we think about this, like our Keller Williams culture, like Wendy and I have talked about this a lot. It's all over the place. Like they're the same way, you know what I mean? Like even as far away as like, Malaysia, like everywhere. It's been the coolest experience to get to meet these people and talk to them. And so now I have people to go visit. I love to travel. So now, the guy from Greece was like, come here, I'll show you around. I was like, that sounds awesome. Go get food and yeah, anyway, so. Anything else? What you got next? Our new hires. You want to introduce them? Jeremy's not doing anything today. Jeremy's feeling a little under the weather. Let me get over here then so I can see without putting my back to people. So Taylor Williams is our agent care coordinator. Taylor, you want to stand up so everybody can see you? You don't have to give a speech. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So I'll say and you correct me. Taylor just graduated recently with a master's degree in communication from East Carolina University. So she's a pirate. You did your undergrad at ECU also. So she's a total pirate, undergrad and grad school. And really talented person. We're excited that Taylor's here. And Michaela Fox is our director of communications. You can find Michaela at the front desk. And she is awesome as well. She came from Leith Chrysler, I think.
Incorporated.
Yeah, and so she was doing accounting and bookkeeping stuff for them. So she's going to also be some extra help for Jeremy at times to be able to write commission checks and stuff like that. She's got a lot of knowledge and experience. So we are excited to have them. We are still looking for a productivity coach. So think of who you know that would be great at that. Anyway, that's the opening we have right now. And Sharon, do you want to come up? What you got for us?
I don't know what I got for y'all.
When it was Sharon and George, I used to get so nervous. And I don't get as nervous anymore, just a little bit.
A little bit. Just want to make sure that everybody is sending to Jeremy or Taylor your pocket card. I'm quite sure we don't have all of them. And as well as making sure that you did your privilege license, because if you didn't, they'll send us a notice. You got to stop working.
Because you don't have the privilege of
You don't have the
working.
privilege of working. And then, of course, we're thankful that Art will be doing, we had one class on Saturday, and we got another one coming up about the new forms. I recommend you tell somebody they need to show up for that class.
So come and bring a friend.
Bring 2 or 3 friends, because there are things that are on there that we have been doing that we cannot do anymore. And
what
Art's
is
going to tell
the
us
Next one?
this Thursday
Thursday at 9
9.
by way of Zoom.
by way of Zoom. Please join, get up there, because there are a lot of stuff up there. And then I'll teach another class the first Thursday in August about those same forms, because we got until September 1st. After September 1st, we're using them. And like Wendy said, we already have them in the system, so you should be using them. Please, oh please, look at those forms.
You'll be surprised.
So this
You
one
will
is-
be shocked.
It's 9 a.m. on Thursday?
9 a.m. to Zoom.
Right.
And then mine will be in-house and Zoom that first Thursday in August. So yeah.
Here.
Here.
Is it additional changes as to when he did the Zoom call before? Is it a repeat of that? When he introduced?
Well,
it?
I'm gonna handle more.
Yes.
We only covered a few of the forms.
Right. We have a lot of forms to cover. So when
31
you thinking you
forms.
got 14
Holy
days
cow.
after that closing date, you don't have
Residential.
those 14 days.
16 in commercial.
They should not do that all at once like that.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
Do we have the Zoom link for Thursday?
It's on the office calendar.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Make sure you do it. I mean, there are a lot of changes with that due diligence and
office Google
earnest
calendar.
money.
Does everybody know how to subscribe to the Office Google Calendar? And if you don't, and you don't want to say anything right now, just come see me or Jeremy or Michaela.
Right. Because I want to make sure that y'all, we're giving you every opportunity to have this, because the one thing I don't want is for you to call me at 10 o'clock at night because you haven't taken advantage of the classes.
That was
we've
actually a
offered you.
complete sentence. You could have
I-
stopped your sentence.
I
right
know
there.
I could have, but I didn't. I'm carrying it on. So I just want to make sure we're well aware of it. There's no longer 14 days or 7. That there's no love letter. That is completely not what we're doing. So just want
No more buyer love letters.
No more love letters.
Is there a list of the residential forms so we can print them out and, make notes?
Lynette,
on
they
those?
sent one to everybody who's a real estate agent last week from
Where?
NC-REC.
NC-REC.
Okay, I'll have
Yeah.
So,
It said
so
the
our,
changes have been made.
our just said 31 residential forms have had a change of some sort to them.
Mhm.
Many of those are minor, reflecting the changes to the 2T as an
Right.
example.
Okay.
Mhm.
But there are some, including the backup contract addenda. I mean, there's some, if you're doing business, you need to know what's changed.
Personally,
Particularly on the 2T.
I used to like it when the form would change. I think when I started selling real estate, the purchase agreement in Colorado was like 10 pages. And when I left to move back here, it was 13 pages. And so every time they added something, methamphetamine disclosures, et cetera, I always kind of liked it because I was like, people just need me a little more now than they used to. It just got a little more complicated.
But it's just a reflection of the common issues that they've ran across throughout the year, and they said we just need to make sure we address those.
It's a lagging indicator of what's in the bulletin, right? When you see the punishment, the naughty list in the bulletin, does anybody read that?
Oh.
It's kind of fun. It's like,
I
there's a little schadenfreude there, right? To read that and be like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, you know?
I mean, like Scott and I knew someone, I was like, hey, she
Yeah.
just got the discipline.
I've
And
seen a
she, and I
couple.
was wanting to say, how you doing? But I didn't. I just left it alone, but
Yep.
yeah. You don't want to be on that block.
I
On that
remember
blog
reading
as
it
well.
when like Possum Realty lost their license.
Who?
Possum Realty. Yeah. Like the marsupial.
I mean, my attorney, one of my favorite attorneys, he was up there and he lost his license for a year.
Yep.
So,
But,
and
you
I
know,
didn't even
the-
know that because I was referring him out to everybody and he wasn't there. So,
You can
yeah.
see, right? Like people get in trouble for things and then it shows up in the form like a year or two later, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, you can appreciate that.
This is a good way to make sure you don't get into the bulletin.
All right.
It's
All right,
also
make sure.
fun if you go in person, doesn't show up as much in Zoom, but you get these people with the shocked expressions of like, I've always been doing that. Not even on the forms change, but what they, yeah.
So, all right, Gary, commercial update. Thank you.
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Got a lot of short tidbits today that you might find interesting. Many of them related to COVID and coming out of the pandemic and things like that. Last year, with many employees finding themselves out of work, there were a record number of new business formations as those people started to form their own businesses. However, about 51% of those new business owners believe their businesses will fail within the next 12 months. So again, this is a national thing. It's not unique to Raleigh. Raleigh is probably better than the average on almost any national measure, but people are trying things, not necessarily highly optimistic.
They
about
need to
whether
come
it'll
to
work.
Keller Williams and work on their mindset.
Maybe so, yeah, yeah. So do any of you familiar with the defunct AMC movie theater on Atlantic Springs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that has been bought now by a local realty group that is going to put 260 multifamily, apartment units there. So that site is being redeveloped now. Street dining, that became a big topic last year when restaurants were at limited capacity. Streets were allowing restaurants to move out to the sidewalk and sometimes move out to the street just to help them with capacity and business. The Raleigh permission lasts through October 30th. But now people are finding out that 90% of businesses and residents prefer outdoor dining. So there's going to be a push to let that stay in some form. Doesn't help parking necessarily, but again, outdoor dining and all that goes with it could become a longer term trend. I was just up in New Jersey over the weekend, which had much stricter regulations than we had here. In the town that I was in, I would say half of the streets were sectioned off for outdoor dining. It was a small community, but there's a lot of that going on. It looks really nice, actually.
It's very European.
Paris at the same
Work from home trends. Obviously, a lot of companies were having their employees work from home. Well, surprise, surprise, many of them now find that the people who have been offered the opportunity to work from home prefer that. I mean, most people would, you get a little more freedom and can do a little more things that you might want to do during the day. And now they're finding out that companies that are asking their employees to come back in the fall are experiencing a much lower level of satisfaction in terms of employees. And it's natural, I think.
As we're sitting in a team meeting, that this used to be standing room only, and now we're like trying to figure out how to get everybody to come back. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
If you didn't have your supervisor, in your office watching, monitoring, you didn't have the opportunity to talk with other employees about things that might be going on in the business and how to address them. That's why companies are wanting people, a lot of companies are wanting some people back at the office part of the week, and employees are resisting. And some folks, like in the tech industry especially, who can get a job almost anywhere they want to, are saying, well, I'll just leave if they want me to come back to the office or somewhere where they
Like the companies are figuring out that the little synergies and things that happen at the water cooler aren't happening right now. You don't schedule a Zoom meeting to have a spontaneous idea. So those kind of things aren't happening. And here, like I used to get a lot of deals done just in the office, just hanging out in the office. And now, we're not seeing as many people hanging out in the office and working here. So it's really interesting to see. My theory is that the companies that figure out how to get their people back to the office first will win, because they'll get back to having those kind of synergies and things.
Yeah.
But
may have a bunch of unhappy employees, but no.
I think a lot of companies are gonna follow Apple and Google and are telling them they're coming back.
right.
And they're gonna use that as benchmarks, as they're considered very progressive companies. I know there's a lot of employees from Apple nationally who are trying to fight this, and Tim Cook's saying, you're coming back, or we'll replace you.
At least
Well, they're
partially.
not building $1 billion campus in Raleigh to have everybody work remotely, likely, I guess. So
However, there are a lot of large corporate headquarters, and now there's a lot of space available for sublease. IBM just announced that they are subleasing 630,000 square feet of space in RTP.
wow.
They're still one of the area's biggest employers, but that's still 630 square feet. MetLife, they built 3 buildings on Weston Parkway. They've got one of them empty for sublease right now. Just down the street here, the Advanced Auto Parts, I think they have the name on the building.
Brand
They're subleasing a ton of space as well. Maybe you read also, and I'm getting towards the end here, somebody made an offer to buy SAS a couple weeks ago. Maybe remember what that number was?
20.
Who said that? 20 what?
Billion.
20 billion. Yeah, buy SAS.
Would be
They said they're not for sale, but
That's not enough.
that's a big nut.
That's only 6 times earnings. It's not enough.
Doesn't sound enough.
It's not.
no, it's not.
Actually worked there.
Maybe he's holding out for more.
Public market would give a lot more than that.
And then lastly, something we haven't talked about in a while is referrals. Your clients, a lot of them, have commercial opportunities that you probably are not prepared to deal with yourself. Those are opportunities to refer those to one of the commercial agents in the office, pass that off. We don't do what you do. You don't mostly do what we do. There is an agent who's about to get a $12,000 referral check.
How much? Say it again.
$12,000.
So basically like doing an entire transaction for making a phone call.
More
Or
than
just
that.
giving,
more than.
passing along a name and a phone
That's
number.
two.
That's both sides.
That's two
Couple of
transactions.
So those things are real. there are opportunities, you know, or now you're having trouble with your buyers, perhaps finding properties, well, maybe they own a business and maybe there's something on the business side that you can help them with by saying you've got a commercial agent that's on your team that can help, and we treat them like your clients. So just again, just mention that that is out there and it's a possibility. And like I say, we don't do the residential stuff, so we're not taking anybody's clients.
I sat in on some of the commercial team meeting this morning, and Gary told a story about a listing where it was bought by a doctor to use as for his own practice, right? So who knows a doctor? Everybody in here know a doctor? I asked my dentist last time I was in the chair, do you all own the building? Do you- No, we just lease. Oh, really? You should think about it. Yeah. So anyway,
All right.
something to think about.
Any
Yep.
other questions? All right, thanks.
Thanks,
I
Gary.
just want to reiterate, everybody, please do not try to practice commercial, because if you're residential, then stay with residential. You
It's,
cannot do residential
yep.
and commercial.
It is a different animal and they deal with different things in that, right? So, all right. Art?
Well, we got a lot of things happening in this office. It's really terrific. There's a lot of stuff for me to review every day.
You're probably seeing some fascinating things.
I reviewed 60 files yesterday. So normally I'm getting like 30 a day or something like that. And I try and be within 3 days of those files being submitted. So I just wanted to remind you to please submit your transaction early, because now there is a requirement that you cannot get paid at the closing table. So you have to be paid by the firm. And so that means that all of your documents and those types of things have to be approved. And if you haven't submitted them to the day of closing, which I reviewed 2 or 3 of those this week, where all 3 sets, the agency agreement, the contract file, and the closing file, were submitted after closing it occurred. So, and that's just going to delay your things, because obviously I don't do this full time, but I do try and do all the closing files every day. So at least, you know, those will turn around within 24 hours. The things that are being missed right now are agency. The new Real Estate Commission Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure form, you all get to fill in the little check marks. You don't have to have clients initial that. And we as a real estate firm practice all kinds of agency. Okay, that means buyer agency, dual agency, designated agency, and sub-agency. But at a minimum, all 3 of those first 3 should be checked, because the client is not checking, or your prospect is not selecting agency at that point. Okay, we're just telling them what types of agency are available, and they're acknowledging that you have described that to them. The last one, that sub-agency, only needs to be checked if indeed you plan to work with them as a sub-agent of the seller. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. And I'm not dinging everybody at this point for that, unless it's different and you have not disclosed dual agency and you're entering dual agency agreement. Lots of interesting things that are happening. I get to see all of the confidential information on offers and all kinds of things. Still, on reasonable priced properties, we're getting well above list price. Obvious from some of the transaction files, we're still getting multiple offers on transactions. Anything in the 400, even up to 500,000, we're still getting multiple offers within a day or 2. Due diligence fees are huge.
In that price range, what are you seeing for
Under 500,000. Well, what surprised me the other day, $200,000 transaction, $50,000 in due diligence.
investor or?
Yes, cash deal.
Yeah.
So buyers are competing against that kind of thing all the time.
We just had one 200,000 TD.
Yeah, I remember that. Now, with the new form changes, even if the buyer holds on to the due diligence check, they owe the money.
Yes.
Not only do they owe the due diligence if they do not complete the transaction, they owe the earnest money. And attorney fees if the seller has to go to court to get the money. And the form is very clear. So please, please tell your clients when they sign that contract and say they're going to give due diligence fee, to wave it goodbye. Because it's gone. Or will be, plus court costs and a lot of other headache and trouble. But I mean, it's just amazing to me what people are paying for property. I used to think mobile homes didn't appreciate. That's not true now.
Everything.
Land's going up, and so you could attribute some of their increases to that. But I reviewed a transaction recently, a $200,000 mobile home, tax value 72. Just crazy stuff.
Six figures.
Yeah.
So what you're saying consistently is nearly every transaction is going for over list price.
Not every.
Okay.
Not every. We're beginning to see some that they're getting closer to list.
Yeah.
And depending on a condition, I noticed one that was sold that was not in top condition, that it was actually a little under list.
Okay. Still big due diligence money though?
Yes.
Okay. So the large due diligence deposits are pretty consistent, even if the property's selling under the asking price, right?
Unless it's an investor paying cash.
Okay.
Investors paying cash sometimes get away with lower. By lower, I mean 2,000 to 6,000.
So what we used to see is a little more normal
Right.
for the market.
Because they're going to close in 15.
Yes. And so the risk, seller's not taking as much risk to take the property off the market for very long.
And usually in that case, they are above list.
Yeah.
So and I'm also seeing contracts that are coming through that do not get put in the MLS. You will see a note on the MLS when they do enter it, seller accepted, sight unseen offer.
Mhm.
I just caution everybody, be sure it's, number one, you've either got one of those two forms from MLS, because those are always required. The exclusive right to withhold from MLS, whatever the name of that is, as well as the coming soon.
And it means we're not marketing the property during that time, right? We're not showing it.
Well, the exclusive listing can actually be sold, marketed.
Can it be
and
shown?
Shown and sold.
Okay.
If the seller wants it withheld from MLS.
Okay.
The second form you actually can handle that way. And by the way, Keller offers, for those of you who are considering Keller offers.
Who's certified to do Keller offers?
Okay.
Okay, we gotta work on that.
Keller offers, you must have a full listing file. Listing agreement, working with real estate agents, all of that needs to be in place prior to getting the offer pad folks to make the offer.
Because we're providing brokerage service, right? We're soliciting a buyer, we're soliciting an offer on that property.
Well, and we're going to represent the seller. And it protects you as well, because if you go ahead and get that agency agreement in place, if they don't take the offer pad offer, you can go ahead and list the property, market the property. But they do need the withhold from MLS at the time it's signed.
How many have you seen come through, I don't have this report, where Keller offers actually bought the property?
3.
3, okay. So most of the time it's used as a way to get in the door, right? Get a listing appointment, be able to provide another solution to a client. Most of the time, the folks don't select that option right now, right?
They're currently charging 7%.
Wow.
On the Keller offers.
7% for the convenience fee.
For the convenience fee, yes.
No wonder they're not doing many of them.
Yes.
Well, because right now, I mean, the market is almost an iBuyer, right? You know, you can go get in the price range where they operate, you can go get a cash offer in days that closes in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So you don't need them as much right now. So.
One other thing you might consider doing is that if you do have a listing and and the seller wants it sold or doesn't want the inconvenience of showing, you might consider doing an open house on the first day it hits the market. And then require, in that price point that we're talking about, and then require offers by noon the next day, or noon, if you do it on a Saturday, maybe even do two-hour open houses. And then require offers by that Monday. But,
Good idea. Any questions for Art?
okay.
So one thing I wanted to touch on really quick, Art mentioned like sometimes files coming into the office after the property closes. That's not, I mean, it is our rule for a reason. Who else has a say in that whole process?
Real estate commission.
Real estate commission. So as a scenario, let's say somebody from the real estate commission showed up in the office one day and said, I'd like to see your files on these addresses. And we said, oh, sorry, we don't have a file on that one. How does that go?
Not good.
We're all in violation of real estate commission rules at that point, right? The agent and the firm. We don't have an office file. We're required to have. You guys are lucky. We have tech. It's easy now. I used to have to, literally, there was a paper office file that I had to go give somebody the documents, and they would punch 2 holes in the top and put it in the office file and put it in a file cabinet. It was not allowed to leave the office. You know, that was the office file. So it's easier now. You just scan it and upload it to somewhere, and that's the office file. So it takes a second, you know. Anyway, but with any real estate agent, any real estate firm is required to keep an office file on the transaction, and Command is our office file, right? Uploading it into Opportunities is our office file. So I guess we'll send the auditor to your house and be like, I don't know. Go to Wendy's house and see if she has
And that doesn't work for
No,
professional brokers.
teasing, it doesn't work.
Well, and addressing that too, I mean, a lot of times, I used to hold everything till I had everything
Right.
from each client. But I've messaged with Art a lot about that, and he just says, you know, put it in.
Yep.
I'll review what I have, at least we have the file, and then just submit as you get other ones in. But, you know, like when I would have like an under contract buyer and I hadn't gotten the professional services disclosure, because they hadn't selected everybody.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
and it's not a ding if you're missing something.
Right.
That's not the thing. And, you know, it also will serve as a reminder to you, oh, I don't have this.
There's your working file and your office file, right? So your working file is what you're, you know, the things you're assembling and creating. But in this case, you can go ahead and upload that stuff as you get it. And it's one less thing to think about or worry about as you get closer to closing, just putting it in there. I mean, that's how I would literally think about it. Like there's somebody waiting for your paperwork that says, you know, thanks for giving me your lead-based paint disclosure. I'll punch 2 holes in it, put it in file. That's uploading it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sir. And thank you for keeping us out of the bulletin. All right, Chris Mann from Mann, McGivney, and Jordan, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. It is
Morning.
really nice to be here in person. Like,
You were home for a while.
I was home for a while, and then most of these meetings were online with Zoom, and I don't like it. I don't like Zoom meetings. And if when I came to them, you see behind me, it was like a barren wall and my ceiling fan. Like I refused to do the pretty wall for my Zoom calls. It just was going to be what it was. I've met a lot of you guys. I won't belabor who the firm is because I'm happy to talk to you guys after. But I will say that I live literally right there, literally right there. So I drive by here every day. When you guys do your closings, I'm literally happy on my way home or on my way back to work the next morning to come and bring Jeremy your check.
He just brought James a check.
Yeah, I did. I brought a check with me.
That is service, right?
Yeah, it's the first time I visited, I was like, dude, I can almost see my house. So I'm by here all the time, and I'm happy to do that for you guys. I was going to talk real briefly about, first, you guys are going to have forms meetings coming up, and I'll talk to you, Art, after if you don't mind, about there's a very last section they've added to the contract about legal fees that changed it a little bit. So just when you have that conversation with your clients about if you lose a lawsuit about earnest money, you're gonna have to pay legal fees. Be very careful about having that conversation with your client because you don't want to get into the practice of law, and it's not entirely true. It is some legal fees. The way they changed it, there's a reference to a statute that limits it. I don't know that they meant for that, but they've done that.
So we'll talk about, just so you guys sort of know our perspective on it, that the answer on that paragraph isn't all legal fees, it's some legal fees if you win. And it actually, I think, is bad for the parties, but it's just what happened. But one of the things that I have noticed a lot, completely independent of all that, is you guys are doing a lot of marketing right now on your social media and everywhere else, basically saying there's not enough stuff on the market. Do you have something to sell? Come talk to us. And people are listening to you. And they are listing their stuff. And you know that house that you drive by, or that lot that you drive by that's been vacant for 30 years, those people are now coming out of the woodworks to sell that. And those things are a title disaster. It is 3 estates deep. Like grandma passed away, then dad passed away. Nobody ever filed an estate. And the person who thinks they own it doesn't own it. And it is like, once a week, I get to call somebody and say, you can't buy this because the people who are selling it don't own it.
What's your record for like number of heirs?
Oh, I, not too long ago, had to sue 22 people.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like the day before closing, some folks came out and said, the lady that passed away, my dad adopted her when she was 50, which was patently untrue, but you cannot disprove that because you can be adopted in any county in any state. So how do you prove that they're wrong? So as soon as they said that, we had to sue all of them and then let a judge decide. And it was insane. But we've had lots of issues with multiple estates in the chain where nobody ever filed an estate. And, one of the heirs is 8 years old. An 8-year-old can't sign a contract, an 8-year-old can't sell real estate. And the buyers didn't get to buy it because once that happens, it has to go into the upset bid system at the courthouse. And the buyers who thought they were buying a house got upset and they didn't get to buy it. So the point of all that is when you have somebody coming to you and when you ask them, if you are not asking in your listing appointments, how did you acquire this property? That is something you should ask them. Because if they say anything other than, I bought this 3 years ago, it's not that simple. If it's, I inherited it, or I bought this with my wife, we're now divorced, or anything like that, it's a red flag. Anything where it's other than just, I bought it in a subdivision 3 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Because you want to make sure that everybody that should be selling it is signing off on it. Like you don't want to get 2 weeks before the closing. If your attorney is good and is doing their title work 2 weeks before rather than 3 days before, you don't want to get to that point and have an attorney say, where's Sue, Bob, and Jimbo? And you have no idea who they are. You've never heard their names before. Because that is what's coming up a lot.
So sometimes when you see these like really junky houses that nobody's living in or using,
right?
Like there's like a reason it hasn't. So you're thinking like, gosh, why
Right.
isn't somebody selling that?
Right,
There's
and
a reason.
very, very often it is because it's owned by 4 different siblings who hate each
They
other.
don't talk, right?
And that's just one of those things. We got one right now that's just in our pipeline, and we literally called the seller, a week before closing, 2 weeks before closing, and said, hey, what's up with Sandy? Like, you got everybody to sign off on this except for Sandy. And she was just plain to say, she's like, I couldn't get her to sign, so I just didn't worry about it. Like, are you just hoping we didn't notice?
Kind of important.
And so that's just sitting there waiting for her to basically give Sandy money to sign off on it. And you can look at your tax records. Like when you go into a listing appointment, pull the tax bill. If it says anything like the heirs of, or if it includes the word et al., if it says a list of names or a name and then et al. Et al. Is not a last name. And I don't remember who said that to me, and I hope that they're not in this room. But we had a contract not too long ago where the contract listed blah 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 et al. And then the DocuSign for the seller was blah 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 et al. And we said, who are the et al? And the agent was like, I thought that was her last name.
They're French.
Yeah. So if you see that, if you see et al., find out who the et al. Is. You need them. And if you want us to take a look, we are happy to pull up what we can pull up in an estate file to make sure an estate file has been filed. Because often what you'll see is people say, well, I inherited it from my grandma, but they never filed anything at the clerk's office to probate that estate. That has to be done unless it's a husband and wife situation. So if it was a husband and wife owned it, husband passed away, wife now owns it, no estate file is needed for that. But in any other situation, you will, and people often don't do that.
What happens if let's say I buy one of these properties. So you close it for me. I'm buying a junky old house that's got a bunch of errors. I mean, we finally get
Right.
everybody sign off on everything. It's all cleaned up. And I buy it and I fix it up and I'm living in it. And somebody knocks on the door one day and says, I am Jim and I inherited this house from
Right.
my great grandfather and you're in it.
If you have ever wondered the value of title insurance,
That's it.
that is it.
Because now
Um,
make a phone call.
Right, because we can only do so much as title attorneys to prove who all the heirs are. And most of that is relying on the affidavits and the assertions of the sellers, what they have filed at the clerk's office. If they filed something at the clerk's office showing all of the heirs and they intentionally left somebody out or unintentionally, we have no means to know that. We are basically going off that certification. And so if that comes up, when that comes up, because it will happen from time to time, literally it's a phone call to your closing attorney who gives you all the title insurance information. We call Investors Title and say, hey, or Heritage Title. Heritage Title doesn't want that claim. They're like, please don't. We basically let the title insurance company. And oftentimes it is title insurance will write a check to that person. They'll make some determination, some agreement in exchange for signing a new deed to give that property to you, their interest anyway. And then the title insurance company will then go and sue your relatives who didn't include you in the transaction. If they decide it's worth it. Oftentimes they don't, they just write the check and they move on with their lives. But that is often how that works out. We had one.
I would never buy a property without a title insurance policy.
Yeah, and you really can't if you're getting a loan.
Right.
But there are folks who pay cash who think that title insurance is a scam. And I mean, obviously title insurance makes money. That's the point. Like they're not in it as a charity, but that small premium for peace of mind is worthwhile.
And it's inexpensive in North Carolina. North Carolina is one of the states where it's
incredibly
very
inexpensive. We have a file right now. We closed it in 2020 where the husband had forged his divorce papers. Like he had actually filed divorce and forged his wife's acceptance of service with the court and then forged her signature on a quitclaim deed pursuant to the court order that he received without his wife's knowledge. And a year after that closing, we get a phone call from a divorce lawyer that's like, man, I'm really sorry to do this to you. And it's a title claim. Like title insurance handles that. We don't have to worry about it. Your buyer doesn't have to worry about it. It just gets taken care of with, obviously a whole lot of gnashing of teeth, but,
And she's lucky to be rid of that guy.
Yeah, 100%. But like, the buyers paid whatever it was for their title insurance, for their owner's title insurance, $120.
Right.
And they don't have to hire an attorney.
Right.
Like you can't even get a consultation with an attorney on that for $120. And that's what they paid for their owner's premium.
Yeah.
So.
One last thing before you wrap up, Chris,
Yeah.
Because I've had some people say that they want to hear from somebody else other than me and Sharon. Can you explain the getting paid at the table thing?
Right. All right. So
We think they're just making it all
right.
We
I
want
appreciate
you to
that.
get paid at the table.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So I don't know how this came about. So I don't know who pushed this. I don't know if it was the state bar yelling at the real estate commission or how it came about. But basically everybody at the same time. So state bar rule came out, real estate commission rule came out that said that we are not allowed to split the commission, so through the DAs, and pay the brokerage their portion and you your portion. This did not come from Keller. It didn't come from like anybody like that. This
Didn't
came
come from me.
Didn't come from Jeremy. It literally just, we got this rule that came out with like no knowledge that he was even coming. And they just basically said on July 1st, no more DAs. And that's uniform. It's across the industry. And for you guys, you guys use DAs, but you're also here. So, it might take an extra day and it's manageable. People like Fathom are freaking out.
There were
Because
brokerages that built, well, Keller was one of the first big company to do this nationally. This was part of how we were disruptive 20 years ago. We're coming to market and be like, hey, you can get paid at the table, walk out of the closing with your check. And, now we can't do that anymore, but there are some firms that are like completely built on that, where
Yeah.
the checks go like across the country to get processed and
That's right.
everything.
It's like, and like the entire value add for like Fathom is just that they do this. I don't know what else they offer. And so they're
can't do that anymore.
yeah, they're flipping out.
Yeah.
But it is like, we're trying our best to make it as quick as we can for you guys. Like I said, I'm going to drive by here every day and drop off checks because I know this isn't about an extra day. It's, you guys have been waiting 2 months or 3 months or maybe more than that, working with these folks for that check, and like, you don't want to have to wait more. Like, you've already waited all this time. And so we're going to try to make it as quick as we can and as painless as we can to get that here. And I was going to talk to you before I leave about, maybe other options as far as.
So you could close a deal with Ma'am and give me a Jordan. Chris would bring your check by, Jeremy would ACH it. Like, you could just go to the closing and it would just get to your bank account.
Right.
Within,
As long as you got your paperwork turned in, Art.
right.
Right.
So.
Or you could
Chris?
just go to HPW and you could work on your patience then.
Yeah.
I will
Chris?
say that this has been in the making for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was NC Rec that said they didn't need attorneys to do payroll, so that's what.
Well, it was a commission rule.
Yeah.
It was a commission rule,
rule.
and that hasn't changed. They just didn't enforce it.
Right.
I would say it's been abused
Where-
over the years.
Absolutely.
Like, it has been abused, where it wasn't just a check to you and to the broker.
Asking to split it 5 ways.
Oh yeah, I've gotten
Team
BAs
members,
with 6
yeah.
names on it, 7 names on it.
Right.
And that, like, even for me trying to be client service oriented, I had some feelings about it.
Right.
Like, if I'm cutting a $5 check to the family fund,
Right.
like, that didn't have to happen. I didn't have to do
Right.
that.
It should have been one to the firm, let the firm
Right.
split it up, and then, yeah.
So,
Hey, question on the estate thing. I just closed one about a month ago and I linked, it was the only son, mom died, but I had to get him linked with an attorney. We're gonna get those questions. Can we pass that off to you and say, hey, reach out to this attorney, but the next question they're gonna ask is, what's it gonna cost me?
well, so the
What's
initial
the
conversation.
expectation?
Right. The initial conversation with me about where you are in the process. So if you have that son who's trying to sell property inherited from mom, we can have that initial conversation at no cost of, here's where you are. Here's what you've done. Here's what you need to do. If he needs to hire an estate attorney, that's a separate thing and we can help him. But we don't charge people just to look and to see where they are. Because, part of it's the customer service that we provide for you guys to make it easier to sell your houses. Like, I'm not trying to make money off of that part. I make money off of representing buyers in their transactions. And if I do a good job helping your listing get it to the table, I might get some buyers. So we don't charge for that. We won't actually do the title work because we're not title attorneys, but we can tell them what they've done, what they need to finish up on. And for most folks, it's not a big deal. It's those folks, it's the family land that usually is the problem. Like, somebody that's passed away in the last 2 or 3 years that maybe didn't do all their paperwork isn't a big deal. It's when you go into a listing appointment and they say, this is family land, run away. That's where people end up having to spend significant money to fix something like that.
What if the last transaction was more than 30 years ago?
We still have to figure out who owned it and how. We actually had to turn one away in the Outer Banks because every deed going back to 1933 this is how they described the real estate. And it was in Mann's Harbor, and it was everything that Charles Mann owned at the time of his death. And that's how they described the real estate. There's legitimately no way for me to figure out everything that Charles Mann owned at the time of his death in 1930. So I wouldn't do it. And I basically told him I wouldn't do it for what it was, a $30,000 transaction for what the lot was worth. He didn't want to pay me. And we sent it to another attorney down there who I believe just used that legal description, which to me is malpractice. Like, I don't understand it. But once we could figure out what are the defined, bounds of the real estate, we're usually okay. If no estate's ever been filed, we can do an affidavit of heirship. So just somebody who may have known the deceased that's not an heir, so a neighbor or a cousin or something like that, and say, we can get an affidavit from them that said, yes, when grandma died or my neighbor died, here are the people that were her son, her children or whatever. And that's something that we can do in those situations where it's been more than 5 years or whatever, but we still need to figure out who all the heirs are. It's most title insurance companies they sign off on that affidavit of heirship in something that's older with no estate filing.
Who wants to just go do deals in Cary right now in subdivisions?
Listen, we would love it.
Be like, that's all I do. I just do
Yeah.
Cary subdivisions.
Yeah, anytime we see heir at the estate of, my last thing is if you were writing on your contract as the seller, the estate of, that's wrong. Every single time that's wrong. So keep that in mind. The seller is never the estate of. The seller is always the heirs. So
By name.
by name,
By name.
by name. Because
So not the heirs of, but literally Bob Smith. Susan
That's right.
Smith, yeah.
because there's very, 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 very few exceptions to that where the estate can sell anything.
What about like guardianship, power of attorney?
Guardianship is a whole different beast. We could have an entire class on that.
Okay.
If they are an adult who is in a guardianship situation, not super complicated. It's okay. You can usually get through that. If it's a guardianship situation of a minor child who has somehow acquired real estate, it's a mess.
Is it-
Court orders required on that.
The guardianship, basically you have the court order,
Right. So right.
guardian
So
paperwork.
if it's an
and you have to
adult,
present
it's
that.
usually fine. But the child, the 8-year-old who has acquired real estate, and that requires court orders that can only be done after the fact. It's an expensive process.
So that's why if you have a child that has some sort of disability that you have guardianship over, do you have to, I don't know, I'm getting to the weeds here, but basically you need a trust, right?
Well, you should not ever, if you are doing your job right, you should not ever be in a situation to allow a child to own property. So in your estate planning, because that's how it's going to happen. Like we've seen people try to deed property to their children or their grandchildren to keep it out of foreclosure. Doesn't work. But if you're doing your estate planning, you can avoid this problem with trusts built into your estate planning. I have an 11-month-old and my partner and I are not married yet. We're engaged. And I had this panic attack recently where I'm like, I don't have a will. And if I die, my 11-month-old inherits everything. And I had to do
And the inability to dispose of
and the
it,
inability to
right?
do anything with it. And I had like an absolute panic attack and prepared my will that day. And that's how it happens is people that die intestate who have children generally and are not married. So just.
Is it safe for us to think if we run into anything weird that's outside of the norm, call you?
Yes.
Okay. So you run into guardianship, weird heir things, just think, call Chris Mann and he will help me.
Right, don't call your broken child.
Just go straight to the top, go straight to the guy that went to law school.
What about where you have to change names on a contract?
So
Right.
we don't
Can
get.
you prepare a general form?
Yeah,
that we
it's
could
so
use?
we have a pretty easy sort of like addendum to contract for it. Where that generally comes up is if you're doing flipper stuff, different thing. Where you're trying to assign a contract for a fee,
No.
different thing. That's not what we're talking about. But if you have somebody who's put their personal name on a contract and then they decided they're going to put it in an LLC. If they know what that LLC is beforehand, you can put their personal name on page 1 of the contract, and then the LLC name, even if it's not ready yet, you can put on page, I think it's 6 or 8 or whatever. You can do that. You cannot put an LLC that does not exist on page 1 of the contract, because an entity that does not exist cannot go under contract.
Would
on
you have a
anything.
void contract at that point if you had an entity?
It would probably be voidable.
Okay.
Voidable. Like there's an argument to say that you could enforce it against that person if you were the seller. It's an argument, but again, you don't want to be in that position as a real estate agent. That's a mess. But if you need to change it because a name change, or maybe you're adding somebody like mom or dad or something for some reason.
Wife, husband.
Yeah, wife or husband. We have a form for it. I don't get super worked up in that situation where you're adding a wife or husband, or even maybe a mom or a dad. I don't get super worked up if you write their name in and have everybody initial it. I don't get worked up about it because generally everybody's gonna be okay with it. But we have a form for it, just do it separately as well. Because some lenders get grumpy about that, some don't. Some folks like Art don't like that either, and I appreciate it. And
Changes the effective date of the contract.
So we have that
And
form.
might mean refund of due diligence.
Right. So,
And all that.
Can we thank Chris for being?
sorry, I know I went over my time, so I
This was
appreciate it.
great. Obviously, a lot of questions. This was, we want you to more. We're so happy we're like back in person now. You can come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And I'll stick around to the end if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to answer.
Like, I think of Chris as a resource. So you gotta quite like that. You run into a weird thing, you know, if it's not in a subdivision in Cary with sellers that are on the deed, like,
That's right.
you know, and it's weird, call Chris.
Maybe we can get him to come in and do a class of Q&A on different things.
Oh, I'm happy to. Like, this is my favorite part, I like this part. Like, I like coming in and getting those questions like this that I can help you guys answer. So I'm happy to do it.
Right, just because I'm a real estate paralegal does not mean I can answer any of those questions.
And then maybe we can have you come in October and do a scary real estate story.
I can do that.
Horror stories of real estate, right around Halloween. All right, thank you, Chris. All right, Win Home Inspection.
I'm Kurt from Win Home Inspections. I have notes because I'm old, busy. We're in the middle of a move. We just had a grandchild. Everything in life is just going 100 miles per hour. But my hat's off to you guys. We just sold our house on a corporate deal and all the stuff you guys know. My God, I would screw it up in a heartbeat, but you guys are awesome. But I'm Kurt with Win Home Inspection. We are a one-stop shop for all of your inspection needs. We have been in business for 7.5 years. We have 5 inspectors. We've done over 7,000 inspections. I mean, think about that. Our owner, Jonathan Strout, is a master inspector. That means he's done 1,000 himself. He's gone back to school, passing tests, but he's really, really good at what he does, doesn't he? I mean, he's a type who can look at something and tell you that's off, it needs to be fixed. He's good, but our whole team is really, really good. Some of the inspections that we can do is we can do a full house inspection. We can do septic, termites, water quality, radon, mold samples, water. We can inspect your swimming pools for your clients over in Cary. They all have pools, so we can inspect that for them, right? We also have a thermo imaging gun. That's really good. That can look through walls and tell you if it's dry, wet, hot or cold. It's really good where you can look and really see what's going on in that house. We also have a sewer scope that we can look down the sewer lines to make sure they are running the proper way. It's a long camera and guy just keeps going and going, because if you've got to replace a sewer line, it starts about $10,000, probably more these days and time, but it can tell you if that line's running properly, you know, the way it should. We also do a pre-listing inspection if that's what your client wants to do. That's up to you and your client, but you know, we do those. You know, it's a good way. Like on our house we sold, we actually did one. Well, we had 4 inspections done in 2 years on our house, but they did a pre-inspection. There was nothing wrong, but that's what the corporate bought our house. That's what they wanted to do. So of course it was perfect. So off we went. About our inspectors, they are certified, trained, and licensed. They follow the North Carolina Home Inspectors Code of Ethics and the standards of practice. We actually go way beyond that. I mean, our guys have more training, don't they, Angel? I mean, they're in training all to, you know, just to become better, to give you a fantastic home inspection. During these crazy times, we are still wearing masks. We're still wearing gloves. We're still wearing booties when we go in the house. You know, it's still some people like that. So we are still doing it. You will get the inspection report within 24 hours. So your client has a clear understanding of the condition of the home. It will have pictures, it will have arrows, and it will tell you what they see. If they see it, they've got to report it. Even if it's a screw in a door that they put a screw in, because it's missing one, they have to report it. So basically, if they see it, they've got to report it. What's really good now is we have a customer care manager on site. Angel's back there. She runs the whole show. If I mean, you can call in to schedule a inspection, or you can go online and do it. That's your main person. She's going to schedule it for you, but she's going to handle any problems that you have with it. You know, she runs the business, basically. Jonathan doesn't run it. She runs the business. I mean, you all know if you have a great office person, that baby's going to run smooth. And that's exactly what she does. And that's great. And she's great with the customer service. What we offer on every inspection, we offer a 200% satisfaction guarantee. Meaning, if your client doesn't like our inspector, doesn't think he knows what he's doing, we will leave. We will not bill them, and then we'll pay for somebody else to do it up to the cost of ours. That's never happened. But there is some people in life who knows more than we do. It just happens, you know, that's just a little, you know, protection to say, hey, we are as good as we say we are. We offer a 90-day limited warranty on every home inspection. This sheet right here is our warranty. It covers the structure, the mechanics of the home, sewer guard, making sure it's running normal, mold, in case there's mold in the house after we done the inspection. You know, you move in, there's mold. There's a little insurance policy to help them there. There's a recall check that we do on every appliance in the house to make sure there's no problems with that. We have a full concierge service to help them set up everything. Me personally, I like doing it myself because I like fighting with them to get the best price possible. I mean, I just like doing it, but it's there for them. On the roof, there's a platinum 5-year warranty for leaks only on the roof, but for 5 years, that roof will be covered for
If
leaks.
you inspect it and say it's
Right.
good to go.
We have to inspect it. It's not anybody else, but we have to inspect it. And there's a resource for the homeowner. Something breaks, they don't know who to call, what's going on. There's a telephone number that they can call, and they'll help them try to get the problem fixed. If you have a client looking for a true home warranty, and we've done the inspection, you will pay for 12 months, but you'll get 18 months of coverage. That's pretty good if somebody's looking for a true home warranty. And we give $25 discounts off for veterans and healthcare workers. You know, we feel that those guys have just given back the last 18 months, so we feel that if we can help them, we will. Our owner, Jonathan Strout, is a veteran. You know, that's how he's built this company. And that's about it.
And thank you for lunch.
Oh,
This is our
well,
lunch.
yeah, lunch is back here. Anybody have any questions, comments?
Thank you, Kurt.
Yes, sir.
I've been hearing about some buyers that are actually taking inspectors to showings. Since they're not, they may be waiving inspections to get the deal done. Are you guys finding any of those?
We've
or-
been asked to do it a lot. We just can't get the timing right and how you charge for, I mean.
That was my question, is what do you charge to go out for a day with a buyer to look at 5 places? You know?
I heard of one guy's charging $300 per.
house?
Yeah, to go out with them. We're just so busy right now. You know, we just don't have the time. You know, we're about a week behind. But that's why Angel can work some magic. If we need, a quick one, she can work. I mean, it's great having a customer service person live, not a body, not somebody who says, I'm working from home, I can't help you because I can't dial into the system. I don't know, that just irritates me when I call a company and they say, I'm sorry, I'm working from home, I can't help you. Customer service. That's just me.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
being
Lunch is back
here.
here.
Thank you. I've taught a few classes at Keller Williams offices in the San Francisco Bay Area, so like Palo Alto, Cupertino. The custom there is the sellers get the home pre-inspected, put it on the market, and then it's sold as is. The average sale price is $2.5 million. Again, the deal is a slam dunk when it goes under contract because the buyer knows exactly what they're buying. And it's so civilized. They only negotiate one time. That's it. It's done. So civilized.
People have tried that here and it has not.
It became like, it's like a cultural, it's like how the market works there, you know what I mean? It has to take off somehow. And it's a smaller market, it's not a really big market. All right, our ALC, are we having a report or anything? Or
Yeah, James has something.
James, you want to come up? Thank you.
So the growth committee, we've reached out to Superior School of Real Estate, and they have offered a 30% discount code on all CE classes, all post classes, and pre-licensing. I think that's really great for those that have somebody out there you're talking to that thinks about going into real estate. You can pass this code off to them. not only will it help build your downline, right? But also we get their contact and we can stay in contact with them, see how they're doing, and it'll help them grow. So I think it's a great thing. And we're gonna really work and partner with them to talk to a lot of their students to potentially join in KW. So again, y'all see a meeting come out for the growth committee. I'd like anybody to attend. I think we just had some profit share come out.
It's coming out tomorrow.
It hit the banks already.
Mine hit today, so I was pretty happy.
The announcement's coming out tomorrow.
So profit share is out, and I'll be reaching out to those with profit share to really help us grow the growth committee and grow the firm.
I think that, like, another way to think about that is the wealth building committee. Like, who would like to be part of the wealth building committee?
Right.
And that's, you know, what we'll do. Our company nationwide is having record profit share right now, and our market centers having record profit share too. So it's on track to double this year from last year.
So I'll post it on the website, on the Facebook.
And we'll get the flyer.
And we'll get a flyer out too.
Yeah.
So.
And be thinking about that, you know, when you go to a restaurant or something, you get great customer service. I've done that. You know, have you ever thought about a career in real estate? Almost all the time when I've asked that, they say, yes, I have thought of it. So. All right. Thank you, James. That's awesome. So how we're doing compared to the MLS. So the MLS, our market center, and the difference. So MLS is up 15% in closed sales. We're up 89%. MLS is up 33% in closed sales volume. We're up 94%. MLS is up 1% in listings taken, so basically flat. And this is year to date. So for the year, the MLS has taken basically the same number of listings that we did all at the same time last year. We are up 33% in that same time period in our listings taken. Listings taken volume, they're up 12%. We're up 56%. Listings sold, number of units, they're up 15%. We're up 65%. Listings sold volume, they're up 33%. We're up 74%. Written sales units, so the number of contracts written, they're down 8%. We're up 88%. So number of pending contracts going under contract. Written sales volume, the MLS is up 2% and we're up 94%. I would take this on a listing appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I would take this on a buyer consultation. I'd put this on social media personally. By the way, you want to grow your profit share tree. This is all the other firms. This is your office.
Mm-hmm.
Where should they want to be? So, but I would show this to clients. I would take this to clients. So that's awesome results. And our market update. So this is the entire MLS, right, Jeremy?
Yep.
And we're looking at the month of June 2020, the month of June 2021. Can we send this out?
I do it every month.
Okay. Jeremy's like, I already do. So new listings, pretty flat, up 4.4%. Under contract sales down 10.4%. Closed sales up 12.6%. Days on market last June, when we were all kind of hunkered down still, 27 days on market. Anybody know what this June is? 10 days on market, down 63%. Median sales price, what's a median number?
50 above, 50 below.
Yeah, it's half of the numbers are above and half are below, so it's different than an average. Last June it was 290, this June 357. Average sale price last June 332, this June 411. 411. And remember, this is the entire MLS. So pockets like Raleigh are going to be even higher. Percent of original list price received last June was 98.6%. I bet you got some buyers right now that wish they had pulled the trigger last June, because now 104.6% of asking price. Percent of list price, that's percent of original list price. So that would account for any price reductions. Pretty close for percent of list price received. Housing affordability index, I don't know how they calculate that. Does anybody know? Anyway, it's lower, as we can all guess. I guess it's probably a comparison of like median or average incomes, household incomes to prices. Last June, the housing affordability index was 119, and this June 98.
I'd be interested to see if there's like a threshold where it's considered painful. Probably 100. Inventory of homes for sale last June, 6,388. This June, 2,553. And month supply, so meaning if no new listings came on the market, how at the current rate the market is absorbing new inventory, how long would it take to completely run out of housing inventory? Last June, it was 1.8 months. This June, 0.6 months.
That's actually up from last month though. It was 0.4 last month.
Yep. But I want to point something out. So everybody says we don't have enough inventory and stuff, right? Everybody's saying we have an inventory problem. Well, what we have is really like an acceleration problem. So the number of closed sales is up. We're selling more houses now than we did last June. They're just selling faster. The inventory is not lasting as long. So it's becoming this market of speed right now. It's not that we don't have enough houses. It's that we don't have enough houses, but it's that the inventory is going faster. Does that make sense?
Your available inventory.
That's a great.
The inventory is already sold.
Yes, the available inventory is small, but there are more houses actually selling right now.
NAR estimates we're down 6 million.
NAR for number of closed sales.
No, across the country, they say we could absorb another 6
Oh,
million
if we
homes.
had them,
Right, if
yeah.
we had them, right.
I mean, there's talk now actually of involving like the federal government in dealing with this housing problem. And it's just so funny to me that it's like for years we weren't building enough homes to account for population growth and household formation. I mean, for a decade after the Great Downturn, and economists were saying this will become a problem. And we were all like, I mean, remember back in 08, 09, we were like, we will never have an inventory problem. I've got listings I can't give away. And now here we are, and the pendulum's now way over here. The chickens have come home to roost. We don't have enough houses.
They can rent one.
Hmm?
With all the investors buying them up, they can probably find one to rent.
Well, I mean, it's like there's this perfect storm happening right now, right? We had a decade of not building enough to keep up with population growth. So there's our fire. Now we start squirting like lighter fluid of low interest rates on there. It's bringing buyers into the market that would not have been able to be buyers at higher interest rates. So think of those folks you're working with that want to buy 250 right now because they can qualify for it at a higher interest rate, at 5% mortgage rates, they don't qualify for 250 anymore. So they might not have been buying. So it's creating buyers in the market that there wouldn't have been at higher interest rates. And then that's why the prices are going up. Does that make sense? Like the analogies I've used is I would love to have a Porsche 911, right? And if I would love that, they're, let's say $130,000. And if the government handed every American $130,000 tomorrow, and I was like, cool, I'm going to go get my Porsche. And I went down to Hendricks. What's the cost of the Porsche going to be? Because every other dude that wants one is like, hey, here's my money, right? I just got my money. Give me my Porsche. And they're going to be like, oh yeah, we sold out. The prices are now $500,000, because everybody can afford it. So that's part of what's happening too. And then Raleigh is getting some extra lighter fluid on the fire in the form of people are moving here from, this is one of the places that is attracting people from all over. So then it just exacerbates it further. So that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Well, I don't know, if I just side note, if you guys see it as far as the investors, the big investors, the real investors that are in the market at that price.
This is one of the markets they're in.
That are basically taking all that inventory away from buyers.
They're pulling, if you think of it, it's like we've only got so many units, right? Of 250 to $400,000 houses.
I just got 6 on one offer, on one house.
6, like I bought,
From big boy investors.
Yeah, so what's happening is people are raising private equity money. So private equity firms are saying, okay, we're going to go raise, $500,000 or whatever in our first round, and we're going to go start buying single family homes in Raleigh, Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, Orlando, wherever. They're picking a handful of markets that they like, and Raleigh is definitely one of the markets, and they're very active here right now. So every time that happens, it kind of pulls a unit out of the system, right? It's available to a renter, but it's no longer available for that first time buyer.
At a higher rent price.
Right, at a higher rent price, but it's also, it's not even an option for it to be
owner occupied. It's been pulled out of the system, and it'll probably be out of the system for a decade. They've got like 10-year timelines on these things, on these funds they're doing. So it's fascinating.
Tell them the market shifts.
Yeah.
Tell the first time buyers of those price points. It's
All right, since you can read that better than you want to, come on, help me out.
Come on, I really can't.
You can do it.
Jeremy. Hector's over here. All right. Welcome, Alexis, Alicia, Katrina, Julianne, Christy, Michaela, Nina, Preet, Rachel, Rochelle, and Sherry. And Sherry's in the back. Anybody else here that are in? Sherry waved to everybody. Awesome. Welcome. Sherry came to us from ERA. Welcome. Earlier here. Sherry has a desk. If you're looking for her, she's right around the corner at this cubicle.
We have a lot of these.
A lot of cappers. Are we gonna be able to pay the electricity bill?
12.
All right. Jamie Amadon capped. Fulton. Where'd Fulton go? He was here a minute ago. Karen Foster. Andrea Giangrosso. Andy Harrell. Woo. Ruby. Robert Joins. Steve Lusgarden. Brooke Pancoast. Sharon Quintero in our Wake Forest office, Kathy St. George, Morgan Womble. That's it. That's awesome. Congratulations. 100%. And congrats on first listing. Josh Harris, Marquise Braxton.
Sorry.
That's right.
I was trying to move this so you can read it. Why can't this move?
That's my only frustration with Zoom. That thing gets in the way all the time.
There we go.
Marquise Braxton, Shanika Benjamin.
Now I'm just messing with you.
Stop. And then congrats on your first closing, Jordan Abbott and Laura Alexander. First one. All right, awards really quickly. Listings taken, top individuals, Rupert Bryan. I feel like his name's on the daily announcements email like every day, multiple times. Amy Bush, Eddie Wilson, and John Strite tied for second place. And then there were 18 people tied with one listing. Top teams, Morgan Womble Group. So teams means 2 licensees in production. Morgan Womble Group, and then Team Ohana and Old Mill Group tied for second place. And then top group, so this means 3 licenses or more in production. Number 1, 220 agents. Number 2, the Clark team. Number 3, Carolina Homeland Partners and Ruby Henderson tied. And number 4, Carolina Elite Realty Group and Four Keys Realty tied for number 4. So we used to only have 2 groups, and now we have this whole list. It's pretty awesome to see. Congratulations, everyone. All right, written volume. Top individuals, Rupert Bryan, Erica Sizemore, Todd Harrison, Cherise Sutton, Jamie Amadon, Eddie Wilson, Gina Winstead, Michelle Licklider, John Strite, Karen Foster, Fred Havasey, Janelle Morton, and Gary Becker, and all above $1 million in written volume. Top teams, Morgan Womble Group, More Real Estate Group, Team Ohana, the Old Mill Group, and thispropertyavailable.com. And then top groups, 220 agents, Clark team, Ruby Henderson team, Four Keys Realty, Dreams to Reality team, Carolina Elite Realty Group, Carolina Homeland Partners. Congratulations, everyone. And this is closed volume. Top individuals, Todd Harrison, Erica Sizemore, Rupert Bryan, Robert Joins, Karen Foster, John Strite, Damon Vaughn, Andy Harrell, Sylvain Dufour, Leah Kruger, Gina Winstead, and Libby Mitchner. Top teams, Homes by Hector Vega, Morgan Womble Group, More Real Estate Group, thispropertyavailable.com. And then top groups, the 220 agents, Ruby Henderson team, the Clark team, Four Keys Realty, Dreams to Reality team, Carolina Homeland Partners, and Carolina Elite Realty Group. Congratulations, everyone. And this is where the rubber meets the road. If you want to know who to invite out to lunch, these are the top gross commission income earners.
number one, Todd Harrison, and Todd made the regional list. He made number 5 in the entire region, over 9, number 4 out of over 9,000 agents. So Rupert Bryan, number 2, Erica Sizemore, Karen Foster, John Strite, Robert Joins, Libby Mitchner, Damon Vaughn, Sylvan Dufour, and Andy Harrell. And then top teams, Homes by Hector Vega, Morgan Womble Group, More Real Estate Group, thispropertyavailable.com. And then top groups, the 220 agents, Ruby Henderson team, the Clark team, Four Keys Realty, Carolina Homeland Partners, Dreams to Reality team, and Carolina Elite Realty Group. Congratulations, everybody. All right, and then this is team members. So these folks are on a team. For closed units, number 1, Randy Young. Congratulations, Randy. Number 2, tie between Andrea Giangrosso, Fulton Crowley, and Lisa Jackson. Number 3, Annalie Bergson, Brooke Pancoast, Daniel Barag, Jenna Filsinger, Margie Burns, Mia Delph, Steve Lusgarten, Tom Baden. And then there were 8 tied with 2 units. And then GCI, Andrea Giangrosso, Brooke Pancoast, Randy Young, Misha Cashin, Fulton Crowley, Steve Lusgarten, Mia Delph, Tom Baden, Jennifer Roberts, and Lisa Jackson. Congratulations. All right, and this is our $1 Million Club. Do I need to read all these? Okay. So these folks closed over $1 million in volume.
Or wrote or listed.
Or wrote or listed $1 million. That's pretty awesome. And our home run agents, so these agents took at least 1 listing, wrote at least 1 contract, and closed at least 1 contract. Carolina Elite Realty Group, Erica Sizemore, Four Keys Realty, Gene Scott, Janelle Morton, John Strite, Karen Foster, Michelle Licklider, Morgan Womble Group, Ruby Henderson team, Rupert Bryan, 220 agents, Clark team, Todd Harrison, Wendy Lyman, Zach Ritter, everybody. That's a really healthy business, right? If you take at least 1 listing, write at least 1 contract, and close at least 1 contract, that's a pretty nice, healthy business. And really right now, if you just focus on, which one of those would you focus on if you wanted to do that every month?
Listing.
If you took 1 listing every month, you probably would be writing 1 contract, right? Because it's going to sell. And if you did that every month, month after month, you'll have at least 1 selling. So, all right. The next question. I'm going to get. Okay.
So I've been working on our vendor program with the office and growing it. These are people who are signing agreements with our office and agreeing to partner with us, whether it's coming and attending team meetings, sponsoring classes, teaching classes in the office, and things like that. So I'm going to send out our Google form again for our vendor sponsors because I want to build this more. Most of these vendors are paying in to be a part of our office, which is only helping us to be able to provide classes for you and helping things like that. So we are one vendor for our mortgage company currently. Keller Mortgage is obviously our other one, but they don't have an in-house person. We are introducing a new mortgage broker named, or LO, sorry. Sean Poole is going to be moving in to the office here. Heather is moving on. She's still with Movement, but they're assigning Sean Poole to us from now on. Chris and Keisha are our 2 preferred vendors for attorneys. We are not accepting any more for attorneys. And then we have Carla Campbell with Heritage Title. Obviously, they are our preferred title search. Keisha and Chris both work with Heritage Title very well. So if you're using our preferred attorneys, then you're going to partner with Heritage Title automatically. So the other things that we're other vendors are Ed Robertson with Home Inspectors, and then John Strout with as also our other preferred home inspector. We are looking for 3 other home inspectors. We're taking 5 up to 5 for all of our other categories. So if you know somebody that you personally use multiple times and they're an amazing partner, then just connect with me. Because we're looking to be able to provide you guys with different options and be a one-stop shop where you don't have to go out and vet these people yourself. Then we've got Stephen DeWitt with Choice Home Warranty, Heather Williams with Home, what's she? First American. Yep, First American. And then Trevor Kalin with America's Preferred. And then we've got partnered with Bert Lawson and Matthew Young as insurance agents. So
It's funny, I've known Matthew Young the whole time I've been with Keller Williams out through the Triad, and I saw him walking in here one day, and I was he's all over the place now.
He's in Charlotte, he's in Valentine. Yep. So we're looking to grow this this program very, very large. I want to have at least 60 preferred vendors, not counting the mortgage and our 2 attorneys. So if you know somebody who is an amazing partner and you use them and you can vouch for them, Kathy St. George just let us know that Miracle Movers had a bad experience, and I've actually had 3 other people reach out to us and say they had some experiences with us. So we're not going to pursue using them as a moving company. But I mean, I'm looking for roofers, general contractors, plumbers. I mean, anything that you guys are using for services.
Part of our idea is, you know, that
movers.
you don't have to-
Photographers.
Yep, so then you don't have to go in the Facebook group and say, who do you recommend for this or that? You'll just have this list that's all vetted, and the office is getting some benefit from it, which is helping us provide you with services too.
So we're gonna, on that Raleigh All Access page, we're gonna have a preferred vendors page on there that's gonna have everybody's contact information and things like that. We also noticed that the front TV outside of the conference room now has a scrolling vendor list. So any questions about that? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Have lunch, stay and hang out, have some conversation.
I know.
Which one?
And for